Hi, we are here today with Martha Denney, Executive Director of the Lenfest Scholars Foundation. Thank you for joining us, Martha.
It's my pleasure. I am here to persuade you that you should apply for the scholarship. Even if you're not sure you're someone who's going to be eligible or qualified, we really encourage you. It's an amazing opportunity that we would like to see everybody try and take advantage of.
All right, well, let's just get started with what is the Lenfest Scholars Foundation?
So the Lenfest family is a family that's based now in Philadelphia, and they have a larger foundation called the Lenfest Foundation, which has given money to lots of different causes. Education is certainly one of them, and the arts and journalism and so on. The Lenfest Scholars Foundation is a separate entity that was established by the Lenfests because the couple, the husband and wife, Jerry and Marguerite Lenfest, spent time in rural South Central Pennsylvania when they were in school and have a great deal of sentimental attachment and fondness for the area, and decided that they wanted to do something to help students from that part of the state who may not have the opportunities of wealthy high schools and lots of connections, help them achieve their potential at whatever college or university they wanted to attend in the United States. And so they established an endowed foundation and we have 23 partner schools, and chose schools, established the connections, and we are in a position now to offer 40 students across the 23 schools the benefits of the Lenfest scholarship, the details of which I'll talk more about later. But the family is very committed to students, wherever they come from, reaching their educational potential and aspiring to be the best that they can be. And giving back, not just to their communities, but becoming citizens of the world and contributing in the ways that they know that you're capable of. So the Lenfest Scholars Program is a process by which we choose these 40 scholars, and drawing in consultants and experts, and trying to establish the criteria that further the mission of finding students with great potential, who may or may not be the obvious stars in their high school, but discovering who they are and what they can become in college. Once a student is selected as a scholar, there is a financial contribution towards their 4 years, usually 4 years of college. And there are all sorts of other benefits, counseling, mentorship, test preparation, money for internships. The idea, as I said, is to offer students the resources and the opportunity to move beyond whatever they consider their limitations to be, and to see themselves as going anywhere and doing anything that they could possibly want to do. So we are a small staff. There are 4 of us, a director, 2 associate directors, and a program manager. And we will work with students one-on-one throughout the process, during your application, during the various stages of the application, when you're selected as a Lenfest scholar, and beyond. One of the associate directors works with students, Lenfest scholars, who are in college right now. We have about 150 of those. We also have about 300 alumni of the program, with whom we also work to connect them to each other, to the current scholars, and to establish a network of career and professional support as well.
Okay, and you had mentioned that there's partner schools, so not any student can apply. You would have to
No,
be from one of the partner schools. I
that's
can
right.
put on the screen kind of a list of those partner schools so you don't have to kind of go down through all of them.
Sure.
Um, and so as far as eligibility to apply, you have to be from one of the partner schools.
That's right.
What's some of the other criteria or eligibility you would need to
Well,
be able to
it's
apply?
interesting. You should be a junior. We occasionally get questions about, could you apply as a sophomore, which really depends on whether you will be eligible to apply for college the following year. So I wouldn't say that that's impossible, but it's unlikely in a way, because I think you may not be ready to really understand what your plans and ambitions are going to be. So typically, these are juniors who apply and are awarded the scholarship in May preceding their senior year, so that we have the opportunity to work with you to prepare you for applying to college, to give you whatever advice we can. But in terms of strict eligibility, there's no GPA cutoff under which you cannot apply. We are clearly looking for students who achieve a lot academically, who show that they want to challenge themselves. These are also things that colleges look for, who've taken the most demanding curriculum that is available to them. And so, yes, the student's academic record is important, but it's not as if we choose the 40 top GPAs and those are the scholars. That's absolutely not the case. There is also not an income level over which you're not eligible. This is a program that's intended to benefit low-income students and their families, but we know that defining someone's income and their ability to pay for college can be complicated, depending on your circumstances, the size of your family, and so on. So there's no automatic cutoff. We do ask for financial information at several points in the application, so we can judge whether you are a candidate for whom you might not be able to achieve your potential if we're not able to help you financially. So the sort of short answer is that the eligibility is really technically that you are from one of our partner schools where we have a relationship, and being a junior is likely. Other than that, we encourage you to explore your potential with us. I think students would like to hear, we're looking for this, and this. We're looking for such and such a major. We're looking for people who know where they want to go to graduate school. We're looking for doctors, and that's actually not the case. We don't ask that you know what your major is going to be. We don't ask that you know what college you want to go to. We are looking for something that's less specific, but to us more important, which is, do you challenge yourself? Do you know yourself? Do you know what your aspirations are? Do you know what you're good at? Do you know what you're not as good at? How is it in your life that you can show that you followed your heart, your mind, your passions? How can you give us a picture of who you are as a person and how you envision moving from where you are now, your high school, to a college environment, which you're going to want to reflect on and explore, that will help you achieve the potential that you know you have. So intellectual curiosity is important. Commitment is important. We do ask you for your activities. We're not looking for 400 activities. We're looking for, why is that important to you? And is there a certain focus? Is there a certain way, an insight, a way that you can show us how it is that those elements of your life tie together, and give us a picture of you as someone who's going to make a mark wherever you are. Sometimes the Lenfest scholars are the first ones to do something in their high school. Sometimes they've made presentations at school boards. Sometimes they have organized community kinds of initiatives. Again, these are all different aspects of how the students have shown us that they are sort of a shining light in their environment, and that they will continue to do so. So unfortunately, I guess there's not a checklist, but I think fortunately it means more students can see themselves showing us who they are and what they can contribute. There will be for the finalists, the semifinalists at the end, there's an interview with admissions deans and academic deans from schools around the country, where you actually get to talk about who you are and how it is that the application that we selected for your interview, you can show us how it is that you live that you demonstrate what it is that you told us. The advice from successful Lenfest scholars to applicants is, be yourself in your application. We're not looking for the one kind of student. We're looking to understand who you are. And there are lots of people, your counselors, your teachers, who can help you point us towards figuring that out.
Okay. And once you receive all the applications for the scholarship, what's the process for how students are selected?
So starting next week, the initial part of the application will open, and it will be open for about a month. This is not a complicated kind of part of the process, but we want to give you plenty of time to think about it and ask questions and work with people. There is an essay that asks you about what you're looking for in a college. Again, not what college, but just how is it that you envision this next phase in your life and in your development. We usually get a couple of hundred of those, and the Lenfest scholarship staff, that's us, will reduce that number to about half, about 150 or so. Based on, I have to say the essay is really important. We do ask you some information about activities and academics and family situation, but we're really looking to see a spark of sort of who you are and what we're going to find out about you. If you reach that phase, you'll be invited to the semifinalist part of the application where we ask for more detailed academic and financial information, and there are more essays. It sounds like a lot of work, but in fact, students have told us that it's great preparation for applying to college, even if you don't get the Lenfest scholarship. Many of the students that have been selected as Lenfest scholars and with whom we work on the process of applying to college have actually used their Lenfest essays. We give you a choice, and actually the choice of essays come from colleges. And so there's a variety that you can use, the same as there is in the Common Application when you apply to college, but you can start thinking about the way that you want to portray yourself. And then when you get to doing your essays over the summer and the fall, often it's just a question of editing and tailoring them a little bit more to the colleges that you're applying to. If you're successful, and that's that decision of moving from that stage is also something that the Lenfest program staff make. If we move you to the finalist phase, that's where you will have an interview, and we choose about 80 because we'll choose 40 scholars. You'll have a Zoom interview most likely, because I don't anticipate we'll be able to do those in person this year. But it's a group of 4 to 6 people who will try to find out more about who you are and how you will take the potential that you've shown us and bring it with you to wherever it is that you want to go to college. And I know many of the partner schools will work with students who get to that stage to talk about how you do an interview like that. It's a pretty friendly group of people because they've been working with the Lenfest program for many years. They're very devoted to the program. They love to see the scholars succeed. If you are chosen, you will find out in May. The 40 finalists who are not chosen as scholars will still get $2,000 towards college the next year as an acknowledgement of their accomplishments. If we could give 80 scholarships, we probably would, because by the time you get to that phase, you've really been recognized as someone with great potential for whom finding the right college and being able to get there is something that you're really well positioned to do.
All right, so we talked about the application process. Seems like a lot of work or a lot to it, but how beneficial it can be, just the process of learning to tell your own story and express about you and what your skill set is and what you're good at and what your passions are. That's all really important stuff, and it's stuff that a lot of students aren't used to doing. Mm-hmm. So that's a great preparation for, like you mentioned, college applications or job interviews or things like that. So that's great. So what are some of the specific awards and benefits? You mentioned a little bit about the finalists. Mm-hmm. So what are some of the specific awards and benefits? So
I hesitate almost to call it the primary one, but the one that catches people's attention is the fact that you are eligible for up to $12,000 a year for 4 years of higher education at the college or university that you choose. And if you transfer, you can use your Lenfest scholarship at the new institution. It just needs to be a degree granting institution that's accredited, which it would be unusual if anyone was considering something that was not. So you have the choice there. You can also defer. You can take time off. Your scholarship will wait for you. Now, the actual amount of money that we send to the school on your behalf might not be the $12,000, because if you have a very generous financial aid package from that school, we don't give you as much because we don't need to. It doesn't mean that you're not going to be able to pay for it. It just means that what we need to contribute is less because the institution is contributing more. But if your need from Lenfest is up to 12,000, then that's what you will get. But there are many other benefits. Some other benefits are financial. We will provide each student with a laptop computer before they go off to college, since that's been noticed by many educators as something that is so basic now to being able to participate in school. And yet many students don't have the luxury of having one of their own that's up to date. So we give you up to $1,500 to purchase a laptop. We also have an arrangement with a test preparation company where we offer you 10 free sessions of ACT or SAT preparation, whatever tests you are going to take. And the tutors, it's one-on-one tutoring. The tutors will also work with you to decide which tests should you take, what are you best suited for, where are your best chances, when should you take them. You don't have to take advantage of that test prep, but it's a real bonus. We think it was a need that was recognized, and the foundation was willing to put up the financial resources for it, because whether a school is test optional this year, whether tests aren't required, there's still a reality of applying to college. So having the preparation is important. I also have found that scholars have said that just doing the preparation, even those who this year were not able to take the SATs because they kept getting canceled, just doing the preparation focused them in some really important ways. And we have a summer opportunity fund that I think is increasingly important, which it guarantees every Lenfest scholar at least one summer of financial support for an unpaid internship or other opportunity that they normally couldn't take advantage of because they had to work and make money over the summer to pay summer earnings and to survive. So this could be a local internship. This could be something where you need to live elsewhere, and Lenfest will support your living expenses as well as a stipend. This is really critical in higher education, to be able to explore internships, professions. Sometimes internships help you decide what you don't want to do, as well as those who help you sort of get a foot in the door for something that you do want to do. And many colleges would like to be able to provide this kind of opportunity, but they don't have the resources. So we offer them to you, and we'll help you try and find opportunities and encourage you to start looking for them as soon as possible. We also will provide you, starting in May, when you're selected, with counseling and mentorship. We will meet with you, most likely virtually again, and your family, to talk about financing a college education, to talk about where you might want to go, what are the differences in the kinds of schools, what is the difference between a state institution which looks inexpensive versus a private institution which looks expensive but actually might provide you with more financial aid. We will talk to you about what is a comfortable distance, what kinds of family considerations, and what are you looking for. And that's just the beginning. Over the summer and into the fall, we will work with you if you would like, on refining your list of colleges, on preparing your applications. I have students for whom I've looked at multiple copies of their essays, and deciding whether you want to apply early decision or early action anywhere, and what the consequences of those applications would be. We also offer workshops for you and your family on filling in the various financial aid forms, the FAFSA and the CSS profile, so that by the time you have to do it, you will have already done the Lenfest application, which includes a lot of the same information, but you also can ask specific questions of experts in the field of financial aid. And all of that, counseling, mentorship, working with you, is optional to you. I have some students who've said, I'm fine, thank you. But I must say most of them have been really grateful and appreciative that they have someone, they have a Lenfest counselor who actually works with them. And then one of our associate directors stays in touch with all of our scholars who are in college, find out how they're doing, particularly this year with COVID. College was an unusual experience, and point them towards resources on their own campuses, academic resource centers and counseling centers and career centers, and even organizing study groups. If we have a lot of students at one institution, he would organize a Zoom study group right before finals. So you actually can keep in touch with the foundation and get support in addition to the financial support and in addition to the resources that are available at your college. We also create a cohort of Lenfest scholars so that you can be in touch with each other and talk to each other about the experience. Some of you will be first generation college students, and it's helpful to have a cohort of people that you can talk to just about the experience, but also to get advice and encouragement for taking advantage of the resources at your college that you may not think that you're entitled to, when of course you are. Ideally, even when you graduate from college, you will stay a Lenfest scholar, a part of the Lenfest scholarship community, and you will mentor upcoming scholars and applicants, and you will be able to take advantage of the Lenfest networking possibilities, talk to each other, find opportunities, give each other advice and support. So the financial part, I guess the bottom line is really it's the start, but there's much more that you can take advantage of.
Yeah, wow. So $12,000 a year for 4 years, that's $48,000
Yeah.
worth of scholarship money. In addition to all those other things you had mentioned about just the help for the college search process, finding the right colleges that are right for you. You know, we talk to our students a lot about how important, that's probably the most important step
Yeah.
when you're planning for college. You know, students want to know, how can I get scholarships or save money for college? But taking the time to find out which is the right college for you is
Right.
also going to probably help you save a lot of money for college by picking the right school.
That's right.
And you're also going to have a much better experience there if you're at the right school that's right for you. So that's really, really important. And I would add to what you had mentioned, from the scholars that we've had that have been awarded, they've also said that just the connections and what you had mentioned before about being part of that community. Some of these colleges are very, very selective, and it's hard to get into these schools, even with top grades and everything else. So being a Lenfest scholar and having that on your resume, having that on your transcript, having that, you know, as part of your record, that goes a long way, and it kind of helps you get a foot in the door at some of these really selective schools. So
It really does distinguish you. And I should mention specifically that we offer every Lenfest scholar a letter of recommendation through their Common App, or directly to their school if the school doesn't use the Common Application, from the Lenfest Scholars Foundation, in addition to your teacher recommendations and other recommendations. And it says this student was selected for a very challenging through a very challenging process. So they have already been selected. They have already shown that they have the potential. So it helps distinguish you from all those other people. And we have sent Lenfest scholars to a lot of colleges where we know people then in the admissions offices, and we know who to send letters to. And some of those people are on the selection committee that will do the interviews. So I think we found that there's a lot of success. We've had some early decision success already this year. That's been really gratifying, because it's been a year when no one knew how that was going to work out. But that letter says, this is somebody who's already been identified as special, and are encouraging you in the process to talk about you as a person and to sort of paint a picture of yourself, rather than try and think of who the ideal, you know, fill in the college name student is. That is what they're looking for too. And so you will already have had the practice doing that, and you will have had the foundation, you know, having your back for a year. And that's I think in the grand scheme of college admissions, that's going to be something that stands out.
$1,500 for a laptop, that's a nice laptop.
It
That's
is.
not bad.
It is. No,
So,
it is.
all right, so there's some great benefits, obviously. So how do we apply, right? What's the
Yeah.
process? Where do they go to apply? And what's the deadline to apply?
Well, right now, they can go to our website and they can go where it says apply. But it'll tell you you can't apply until December 28th. But if you go after December 28th, you will be able to apply. And you can start the application. You don't need to finish it. Once you enter into it, you don't have to fill out the whole thing and then submit it. You can go back and forth. You'll get a ID and that kind of thing, and you can log in and out as you need to. The first deadline is the 25th of January. There's no advantage to applying sooner rather than later, other than just, don't get stuck without having time on, the evening of January 25th. It's not first come, first serve. You can take your time. We timed it this year so that you could have a look at the application while you're on holiday break, but then come back to school in whatever manner that is this year, but recontact teachers, counselors, and so on if you want to run through any, if you need advice, if you want review of the essay, that kind of thing, so that you have a couple of weeks when school is in session before you actually have to submit that initial application. And as I said, the first round is fairly straightforward. We hope we don't want to make it too onerous to just get you to throw your hat in the ring, because you have as much chance as anybody else at any of our partner high schools. And so we want to encourage you to go in and check it out and have time to make sure that you're presenting what you want. There's a couple of weeks after that where we're going through the initial applications, where we will select those that we're going to move on to the next round. And there's sort of 3 or 4 weeks between each of the rounds to give everybody a chance to fill in the information. If someone runs across issues with any of the deadlines, family issues, emergencies, all that kind of stuff is certainly possible. And, last spring was, as had some unexpected aspects to it. You really just need to let us know. As I said, we're a small group. We're 4 people. We are very committed to the program. We are here to answer your questions. You can email them. And if there's something about the application that you don't understand, there will be a list of frequently asked questions specifically for the application form, but you'll be able to email the program manager and say, I don't understand this, it won't let me do this, or what should I fill in here? Or, none of the fields correspond to what, to my answer. You can ask those really specific questions, such that no one should not be able to submit an application that reflects their potential because of logistical reasons.
And all that information can be found on the Lenfest Scholar Foundation website as well. So
that's right. And we are updating it, regularly as we get questions, as we find ways of making it more user friendly. So if you have questions or suggestions, by all means, let us know, because other folks are probably asking the same kinds of things, and we're happy to provide whatever encouragement we can to make this a painless process.
And they can do that. They can ask you questions from the contact us part of the website.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely.
And fill it out. So, okay. Well, Martha Denney, thank you so much for taking the time to tell us all about the very generous Lenfest Scholars program.
Yeah. Well, I really appreciate the opportunity. I'm sorry I couldn't meet folks in person this year, but maybe in the future. But it's a delight to talk about the program, because it's very unique. I think I don't know of any other program that's focused on a certain part of a certain state for a certain group of people to help them achieve their potential. And it's constantly evolving. If we discover that there are more things that could help our scholars, we'll consider those. The foundation, the Scholars Foundation, has a board that manages it, that includes alumni scholars, and it includes members of the Lenfest family. It includes people who know a lot about admissions, but everybody is very devoted to the program. And so if there's something that's missing for our scholars to be able to succeed, we're going to talk about how we can add that. So it's a real pleasure to talk about it. And I encourage you to apply. Other scholars have said in similar sessions to their fellow schoolmates, they've said, I didn't think I would be chosen, but I was. So that might be you. So don't hesitate.
All right. Well, thank you. It's a wonderful program and a wonderful opportunity for our students.
Yes. Okay, great.
All right.
Thank you. All right. Take care.